I'm going to be talking about identities and traumatized identities of the self. And starting with working with underlying physical sensations is the best way. That's like without deconstructing the fear. So it's not saying, oh, mentally I'm going to make it so I'm not afraid. Rather, it's feeling what fear feels like: heart pounding, tightness, breathing, temperature in the fingers, any numbness, tingling, wanting to disappear, feelings of looking away or rushing, or neck starts to get tight, like just allowing and trusting everything is temporary, and that allowing it to be a self-education. And using a mantra of some kind, like I am innocent, I am safe, really helps. I'm learning to feel grief. I'm learning to transform stuck energy. I'm learning, because these emotions have to be released no matter what. And there's a type of neutral which is not good or bad. It's a kind of identity that's information, or that is not yet needing labels. And this is because we stopped expecting so much from ourselves or others. We see the automatic innocence. We don't have to believe that we have to have someone with authority over us when we're able to feel our feelings deeply. It isn't like we're really looking for someone to remind us about a higher power or trying to get control. When we release that, making someone else's value of us matter, no one's value really matters more than the self-education. So if somebody thinks, oh, you're a bad student because they saw one little piece of you or even years of you, it's worth it to feel deeply that you've let this person down and yet you're innocent. That abandonment is even a gift of getting a sanctification, feeling each time someone lets you go that you're still okay and is deeply uncomfortable, and releasing that identity which had to perform, which had to impress. It's like a threshold. Seeing I'm never alone in this, and I'm meant to be anxious. I'm never alone. I'm never meant to be anxious. I'm never alone. I'm never meant to be anxious. And that's really like feeling the presence of God. That I'm not supposed to be worrying about how, okay, if this person is going to reject me or exclude me, I'm going to feel all over again. We don't have to go into it with the mind. We have to bring in a presence and feel sanctified that who's with me now when others reject me, judge me, abandon me, forsake me? Only God. And that is the name, God. That's the name of the one who tells us you don't have to fear the blessings that are going to come. I know it seems scary, newness, there's this reassuring presence of relax, you'll get all the help you need, you're always going to be chosen by what's meant for you, and the source can use anyone or anything to get to you. You just have to be coming from a place of, I'm willing to give it all up, I'm willing to give up, in the job or the people, and just, the new identity will meet me. God listens most to those who do feel abandoned, whether it's because somebody close to us died, we're grieving and we just feel like so alone. Who do we trust? Who do we feel safe with? The one that we were so close to, or the relationship ended, or they moved away, or they just stopped loving us, stopped liking us. And I'm not going to go into whether that's real love or not, but just the widow or the orphan, really. Like the one who doesn't have that unconditional love from the parents to rely on, or the partner, that feeling of I don't have a partner or family that can be there for me. That's where God comes. Using anybody and anything to send you a father and a mother every day. And if you don't feel like you have one, just know that sometimes the feeling of the father and mother is that they're in the other room, or they're in the, you can't see them or hear them, but they're there. So just knowing that. And then I want to say some red flags personally I have when I know that I'm stepping into an identity that's not working for me. I don't feel I could say no, or I'll wait around, or I'll do demeaning or degrading actions for their temporary pleasure or relief, or I ignore my anger, or I try to get help from someone who's hurting me. I think that's the one. Or I'm inappropriately generous, compassionate. And this tells me that there's a narrative going on. And this is the narrative to release. The narrative is like, I have to do double work only to be disappointed and disrespected and taken for granted. My excitement isn't met, and the care is one way. Like, I'm not cared about. Someone's not excited about me. My safety and my feelings don't matter to this person. People are going to break their word to me, leave me waiting around. I'm criticized and involved in power struggles. I'm not appreciated. So this narrative, obviously, is an example of an identity that is making me inadequate, unworthy. And the truth is, I deserve someone who respects my time and keeps their word to me and who wouldn't leave me stranded. I deserve someone who appreciates me. I love myself. I am beautiful inside and out. I'm generous, warm, sensitive. I'm growing more loving every day. I don't rely on people. I can sing and dance and meditate. I can indulge. I can smoke weed. I can uplift the moment. I'm grateful, or smoke also, like with the Palo Santo or the incense. I can use smoke clearings. I'm grateful for my life. I'm allowed to rest. I appreciate myself. From that place, exuding this truth as an identity, the I dent, where there's a dent in the I. This truth allows for a new identity, which is being able to choose your role. So I then say, I am a precise mindset programmer. I am programming my mind with precise code. I'm a weaver of the liminal. So all the places where there's sort of transparent threads and you have to like work in a blind way, without seeing them, and sort of like you could see them but you can't see them. They're like translucent, and you work with them and you create this web of, conscious awareness. And I'm a rejuvenator. I'm a thought modification provider. So I'm able to provide thoughts that modify the narrative. I'm a belief system implanter. So I'm able to plant belief systems in myself or others. I'm a mental pattern gardener. I'm able to nurture some thoughts and, weed out other thoughts. I am undifferentiated reality. So I'm still able to become who I'm supposed to be. I have total light affinity. I love the light, and I enjoy being the light, and I love the light in others, and I want to see the light. And ever since I'm born as a baby, I love light. I'm a woman, and that means that I am beyond the timing, because as the bridge to life, in Judaism, we know women are, the only time constraints is specifically with purification of not having sexual relation during the period or for a portion of time after, about 1 week. So it's almost 2 weeks, depending on how long your cycle is. It's 1 week after the period, and then 5 to 7 days usually for the period. But if you have a short period somehow of like 3-4 days, then it's only a week and 3-4 days. But it's got to be totally without even spotting. It has to be completely finished cycle. And also with candlelighting, which is bringing in the Sabbath. So these are sanctification of sexual energy and of life force energy. Shabbos is about recognizing the body holds life force energy. If you think about Shavasana in yoga, it's the body becomes just like it's corpse pose. So you become like, without your life force energy, you're just the body. So we really identify with the life force energy. And then I'm going to go a little bit more mystical now. We are all big and small. And the way to be like open to life is to be surprise ready. It's going to be bigger than I thought or smaller. Expect the unexpected. It's a great way to live. And how we can look at that in one angle is the descendant is not the descender. We have the word descend, which means descend, goes down. But your descendant, which goes down from the generations, doesn't necessarily mean that they're a descender, that they're somebody who's going down. And it could be that they're actually, the ancestors have descendants which come from them, but are actually going to surpass them in some areas. That's really what they want. I would love if, my future children can do more than I can be happier, can be more comfortable. And in nature, we change one letter from N to M, and we have mature. So our nature can mature. You see a young little leafling, and then eventually it becomes a massive tree. And it's like at first it's like a twig with a leaf on it maybe, and then it becomes like a bush, when I said a leafling, I meant a plantling, a planting. A planting is with roots, right? And then, you could pull it out and make a tea or something, but eventually it could also become a large, small tree. But then you have like leafling, you have like a little twig, like with and it could become a strawberry bush. So it matures. Our nature matures just with one letter shift, and that's true with our codes of our mind. So I'm talking a lot about mentally programming ourselves, the I. And in order to look at the tendency of ascending or descending, we have to see that we could mature by ascending in our nature. So the descendants can be ascending. The ancestors could be, in a way, descendant compared to the descendant. So it's like learning about our tendency. Are we tending toward ascending, even though it's ancestry, or is it descendants? It's about descending. So really looking at those words. And then we look at discipline, hope, and trust. These are 3: discipline, hope, and then the X of trust, like trusting in any direction trusting between the discipline, which is the strength of the core, and then the hope, which is that things can change, things can grow and mature. And then in all the in-between places, in between each of these angles, in between these 2 spots, there's trust. In between it, trust. In between every side, there's trust. So there's 8, like an X. There's 8 angles of trust, and then 2 angles of discipline. And actually, if we were facing this way, we would see it back and forth also, not just up and down. And then 2 angles of hope. And also, if we were facing this way, we would see it also front to back. And this is for grounding, alignment, guidance, wholeness, balance, vitality. We all want grounding. Grounding is where we're not too much in one area, too much in another area, too much in another area, too much in another area. Now I'm going to name these so that it's easier to understand. Scales. Scales are this way. Hope. This is to receive and to give, left and right. And it's our preferences, our drives, our likes, our tolerances, suffering, abundance. This is like we hope for something else, or we love it, or we don't love it, or we stop hoping for it, or we hope it doesn't happen. Then we have the weights, which is front and back. This is kind of like when I'm using up here. But it's like if we put down, it's like front and back. And this is, the vertices, up and down first. Vertices, up, above, and below, is to listen and to speak. This is where we find mercy, the flow, power, arousal, polarity, time, peace. Things with the line, above and below. It was before, it was after it. Ancestor and descendant, And when I say listen, speak, I mean express. From our feet, we can talk out of our mouth. And then, when we listen with the ears, but it goes down through the pelvis. So it's above and below. And this core in the middle of all this is now going to need those, when I call them the X's, we could even turn it, and then we have front, back. So we have front and back, and it has these lines which connect it. This is our trust. So we have the discipline in the front, and as I said, it can go front and back. And then we have the hope, which can go front and back. And then we have the trust, which makes the X. Now, if we're looking at it as the core, the front and the back, the X is kind of all the space in between from front to back. If you look at this area, all that's above, below, left, and right, then you have in this space, front to back, front to back. Now let's put it all in a core. Now we have this X turning into not an X, but a front and a back, which brings the above and below and this is the trust, and the sides together. And this is how to perceive the world and express it. And clearly it's the most complex because it takes a little bit from everything. And this is where we have gratitude, where we have freedom, security, creativity, wonder, and truth. This is all trust. This is trust. And finally, when this core is rolling subtly, it might quickly go into this area, the weights and this and that and this, and then we feel imbalanced. But for the stable identity, We need to have this grounded in the middle of all of this, aligned. We need to have the right guidance to know our direction. We need to feel whole. There's nothing missing or bleeding or leaking of the system, or there's no empty space. And even if there is empty space, it's not the kind of empty space that is just open. It's kind of the empty space that's a void. So we're not looking at it like that. We're looking at this core as like a wholeness, balance, and this is the life force energy. So it's vitality, because it requires, in all directions, a relationship to the core. If a part of us becomes disconnected from the core, you can't sew the arm back on or the leg. It requires the core connection in order to be an arm and a leg. So I'm wishing everybody healing in any identifications and arriving into a grounded, aligned, guided, whole, balanced, vital experience of the core.